It's just been interesting and kind of fun to see how different all three of the groups are from each other. There's different group dynamics. There's two Wednesday groups, one Zoom group on Sunday evening. We ask different questions. Everybody in the groups are, come from different backgrounds. Some people from different stages in life, some people from different places. And so, of course, every group would be different. They wouldn't be identical. And we're discussing things of faith. And everyone has their own unique faith journey. No two match. No two relationships with God are the same because He made us all individual and all unique. And so there are some basic things that go into what we believe and what we perceive. And what I'm going to try to do today is just get us to think about some of those things, because the objective of this is to be able to listen to someone that might have a different faith perspective than you. And instead of rushing to judgment or thinking, oh, they think that, they're wrong, or thinking, oh, it's us against them. The world teaches us to just divide, divide, divide. Satan divides and conquers us is what he's doing. But we want to not go there. And if we stop before we go and rush to that feeling, we can ask why this might be, and there's reasons. And if we ask why, it puts our hearts in a posture that we can have compassion towards our fellow human beings instead of rushing to judgment or anger or fear. And so bringing understanding is good. We're gonna talk about, there's two different people here. One is my cute little vase. It's not a shot glass. It's a Princess House little bud vase. And I got to get my little Princess House stuff out that I got years ago and never get to use for anything. And I said, oh my goodness, well, let's use these for our experiment today. So there's basic things that go into what you believe and what someone else believes. And there's kind of the same ingredients that go into them. And so the first ingredient I want to talk about is tradition. Tradition can be what your family believes. If you come from a large Catholic family and your family attended every holiday and every holy day together, that's a tradition. If you were born in New Jersey, that is more likely to be your tradition because there's more Catholics in New Jersey than there is in Nashville. So it's kind of geographic. It's kind of the family you were born into. It also can be the culture, the cultural beliefs, and who is in charge of the families. We just watched Encanto. If you haven't seen Encanto, I just loved that movie. But it shows us a glimpse of a culture where the female really was a matriarch. And so those cultural things, those traditions, all make up what we believe. So this person over here, they have all that culture, traditions. Person A, we should give them names. This is Molly, and this is Sally. Molly, she had traditions. She grew up with lots of traditions with her family. She had family that was from Colombia. They immigrated. And so this over here, Sally, she had lots of traditions too. Her family was from Tennessee. They were Southern Baptist. She just loved the potlucks tradition that they used to have after Sunday once a month, and you would get to hang out with everybody and have all the meals and be with all your friends and not have to go home and do chores after church. So that was Sally's tradition, and that's just what her experience was. It was different based on geography, based on family, but the traditions where she grew up. Then logic. Logic is another ingredient to your overall belief system. Logic is also common sense, knowledge, things that you know to be true. It's raining outside. I should take an umbrella. Common sense, those kind of things. People learn and reason things about faith when they experience them mostly through other people. And what can happen is if you have a bad experience, um, for example, I had a friend. I know a story of a friend that visited a Catholic church one time, and she was a teenager, and she was visiting with a friend, and she had never been to a Catholic church, and she was a Christian, and she was being respectful and all of those things. And when it was time to go up for communion, she followed her friend up into line, and the mom grabbed the friend's arm and was yelling at her and was like, "You can't go get communion." And the girl started crying, and it was just a big mess. And so logically, that girl concluded that she was not welcome at that church. And that's what logically her logic and reason told her. So there's a lot of logic and reason that go into our faith. And they usually are a combination of the experiences that we have had and how they've made us feel and how they've played out. But this experience one I took is the tricky one, because this has to do with the human experience, which is tied to our emotions and our feelings. And we all have different emotions and feelings, and anything can affect them, natural and unnatural. We can have messed up brain chemistry. We're women, we can have our time of month, and it affects our emotions and our feelings. I believe that Satan gets in my head and speaks lies in my head and makes me feel false things. We're insecure if we're in a situation with somebody else and we assume that the person is thinking something about us that they're not. Those are feelings and experiences that make us feel a certain way. You see, the logic that my friend figured out from feeling unwelcome really was based on the experience. And she took that experience and she logically came to that conclusion that she wouldn't be welcome at that place. So she didn't want to go there anymore. Um, Lots of experiences, and there can be positive experiences too. I have one friend, and she just vividly remembers going to a vacation Bible school with her cousins years ago and learning for the first time that Jesus died for her sins and she could go to heaven and live with him forever. And she just remembers feeling overjoyed and just so excited. And that rush of just knowing that for the first time just filled her heart in such a good place. And so that emotion, that positive emotion and experience, along with the negative, help go into what we believe and what we perceive about our faith walk, what we perceive about God, what we believe. But here's the thing, these are two people. We had Molly and Sally. And see, there's a difference here between Sally and Molly. We're all going to face storms in life. And we're all going to face things that just really shake our faith foundation, are the ingredients of our faith. I mean, the wind's going to blow. It's going to blow. But Sally over here was blessed enough to be grounded in Scripture and grounded in the Bible. And when the storms hit, all of those things that go into her faith, her experiences, her logic, her tradition, are held together by the truth of the Bible. So when the storms hit, and they will hit, and they will be destructive, but she's going to still have her faith intact because it is grounded in the truth of the Bible. And so that's why, if you're a Christian, the Bible is a very important part of what you believe, because these things are traditions and experience and logic. They all go into our faith. But when things get hard, we need more than these things. We need the truth that the promises of God will never let us down. And so, think about that. If someone is struggling, or they don't want to go to a certain church for a certain reason, or, you don't know what experiences another person has had. And if you are grounded, if you are contained and controlled by the truth of the scripture, you're going to stay intact. You're going to survive the storm and get through it and come out the other side stronger. Don't turn off your video just yet. I have a few things that I want to go over with us, and so we can keep us all together on the same track. We are entering week 3 of our time together, and it is the week of May 2nd through May 8th. And you just watched the video, Why Do People Have Different Beliefs, that I put together for you. And in our discussion groups, we are going to discuss that topic, and I'm going to ask you to think and share some traditions, experiences, or logical conclusion that have helped shape your faith and your faith journey and walk. I'm also going to start giving us an action for the week, which comes out of this study. This week, the action is to contemplate some new goals or some forgotten goals and make a personal timeline to come. The Bible reading talks about a lot of people who had a lot of goals and plans and dreams and how they came true. And so we're going to relate that to our own experiences. If you're doing the Bible reading is Genesis. We'll be all the way through chapter 46. So the first 46 chapters of Genesis. And we will be discussing the questions in the second half of our groups, the questions from page 8 and 9 in the book and page 5 and 6 in the workbook, whichever of those that you happen to have. I'm going to suggest right now that if you are doing the Bible reading and you are in a Wednesday group, to give yourself the full week and don't rush to get the Bible reading done for Wednesday. If you have questions later in the week, you can always text those to me. I have been sensing that some maybe need to consider a different version. I said in our first video that the version of the Bible is not really a difference. You can get the same out of all of them. But if you are struggling with some of the words in the verbiage, I highly recommend you get an NIRV. And here's one on Amazon that is only $2.99 that you could have in your hands in 2 days. It will make it easier. Just keep it to go along with the version you're reading, and you can compare it. And that's going to help a lot of you just be able to make more sense of some of the stuff that's in there. Also, a study Bible, an NIV, which is New International Version Study Bible. It is a specific type of Bible called a study Bible. And in the bottom of those, it will have definitions and resources right on the same page as the reading if you have questions of what's happening in the text. And that is very, very helpful, especially if you are reading the Bible for the first time or maybe don't know a lot about that. I know I said it didn't matter what version, but version is preference. And so you want to find one that you're going to get the most out of so that you can understand. So that leaves us to just wrap up the list of things to do. And so, of course, watch the weekly video, and we're going to discuss that video and look for our own little experiences and traditions and logic that make up our own faith walk. And then we're going to discuss how we make our own goals and challenges and timelines and those kind of things at our groups. We also then, for those of us doing the Bible reading, will discuss the workbook or the book questions. Those are the questions we'll be discussing the second half of our time together. And so that's a lot of things, but like I said, we are going at our own pace here. None of these are have to do things. These are things that I'm going to lead us through that I think will help most of us get a lot out of our time together and your experience. So look forward to seeing your faces on Zoom or in the library or at Starbucks. See you this week, guys.